So thank you very much for joining this session on low-value remittances infrastructure to deal with low-value remittances. I'm Laurie Dufay from the World Savings and Retail Banking Institute, WSBI, in Brussels, a federation of savings and retail banks all over the world. And happy to host, to welcome our panelists of the day. And I will start with one member of the Federation of WSBI, with the Caixa Econômica de Cabo Verde. And we are honored by having the CEO, Mr. Antonio Moreira, who's linking and joining us from Praia in Cabo Verde. Then I'm happy to welcome a compatriot, Tom Callard, from SWIFT. We are less used to have SWIFT in this type of, let's say, environment, speaking about low-value remittance, but that's because you have a new product to present. And then I would like to present another partner we are dealing with WSBI. It's UPT, a platform we are going to talk about. UPT Murat Kastan, who is joining us from Turkey. And I should have said that, but no, I'm going to say it. You are International Partnership Department. You are head of the International Partnership Department at UPT. And Tom from SWIFT is head of Payment Market Expert, KCMEA at SWIFT. And then we have our representative of the mobile money transfer operations and platform with Mukuru. And we have the pleasure to welcome Kat Denon Stevens. It sounds a bit Belgian, you know, the last name at least. And you're head of product incubation at Mukuru in South Africa. So let me introduce you the topic of the day, and I'm going to share my screen for this. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Just the top. Oh, okay. So just a quick reminder, sometimes the amount of remittance payments in the world has doubled since 2005 and reaching today in 2020, $540 billion, and it's higher in aggregate than both the FDI and official development assistance, taking those figures from the Financial Stability Board. Now, what is the, or maybe I should put this as like this. Voila. So what are we talking about and what are we going to talk about? It's low value transaction and high volume, primarily to receivers in emerging and developing countries, where the end user priorities are a bit different from the normal retail or the consumer who receive transfers from in the world, but these ones have priorities which goes to family issues, urgent health, and education, etc. The major service providers that we are going to know, whom we are going to know through this session, are international money transfer operator, commercial banks, post offices, mobile money operators. What is happening today? Big disruption, because we have very savvy technology-driven entrants and agile market player, just naming one of them, Western Union, largely applying the latest technology and really being sufficiently powerful to be very quick and to invest massive money in order to use technology, enabling them to use data to increase the speed, the transparency, which are topics we are going to cover during this presentation. So the challenge challenges remain that in sub-Saharan Africa, which will be the topic and the focus of this meeting, remains the most expensive region to send money to. Now, the payment arrangement in some cross-country corridors for remittances are extremely difficult and still very high. There are some limited implementation capacity in some jurisdictions, and challenges, but also openings and things which are moving is the wish through the G20 and through who has made who made enhancing cross-border payment a priority during the Saudi Arabian presidency, and who has decided through the different bodies like the Financial Stability Board and the creation of a roadmap, the CPMI and the GPFI, to actually address the issue of cost, speed, transparency, and access. And that's what we are going to see. Where do we stand also in these issues? And I would like just to present quickly the four of you, one slide for each, and so that you see, for example, a bank like Caixa Económica, which is one of the remittance provider on the market. What do they do? The feature of their product is very often cash to account, account to cash money transfer. They use a correspondent network covering all the countries where there is a community related to the country. And they have their domestic branch network also developed and focusing on where families from the outside communities are living. In terms of cost, this is an issue, as I told you, and therefore, in the case of Caixa Económica, special agreement with correspondent banks and community banks in order to reduce those charges. The speed, it's also one of the challenges, but it's still 24 hours to 48 hours. Transparency, Antonio, you will give more information about it. The access, again, is through the domestic branch. And one of the pros and what the other banks are trying to do too is to have special advantages for immigrants developing special accounts linked to the remittance transaction that their family is doing in the foreign countries. And this is also supported in some cases by the government. But your challenge remains correspondent banking network restrictions, all the issue of de-risking and downstreaming restriction, the compliance, the bank charges, and of course the competition. Competition, you said yourself, the money transfer service operators and the mobile money transfer. I would like now to introduce, and please look to the right side. I just tried to compare and kept what Caixa Económica is offering, and on the right side, what SWIFT is offering. We are not so, as I said, used to have SWIFT in the remittance business, but SWIFT within its strategy and following the rules of the strategy also of the GPFI, has decided to turn to the retail, not to do only corporate, and to develop a product which takes advantage of the existing SWIFT platform for corporate business, but which is now focusing what are the features on low-value transactions, B2B transaction and remittances, and with pre-validation of data, we are going to come back to this, and which has for objective in terms of cost to really develop a framework to be extremely competitive with a payment amount threshold known in advance and processing fees agreed upfront and increased STP. The speed is augmented thanks to the SLA between banks, tighter SLA or service level agreement between banks, and a single payment format. And in terms of transparency, I think there you made special effort in order to have full predictability in terms of amount, time, fees, a fixed rate. Everything is known before. Let's go for the pros. You have members and you represent a large community of banks, and you are probably going to come back on that, because even if you are a bit at the beginning of the value chain, let's say, the fact that you have this community, everything you do in terms of standardization of parameters has an indirect, or may have will have an indirect influence on the service providers, on the market service providers. And this is also enhanced by the fact that you have the modern and secure infrastructure, that you have real-time API based on mechanisms to remedy inaccurate and missing information, which is also helping to improve what we talked about, the predictability, and of course you have the GPI linked to correspondent banks. What are the challenges is that the implementation of this platform for Swift Go might be conditioned to other banks' GPI systems or to the investment in a GPI. We'll come back to that. I wanted to present you now actually a private initiative, which we call UPT. Private initiatives are a partnership. Oh, sorry. No, I'm already with Mukuru. Hello, I go back, sorry for that. UPT platform, here we go. And too quickly. Private initiatives, private agreement to build and offer cross-border remittance. It's called Fair Remit. It is also a little bit like Swift Go, by the way, looking for smooth, fair operations. Swift Go looks for frictionless operations. Feature the same as what we find elsewhere: cash, cash to cash, cash to bank account, debit and credit cards, access to debit and credit cards through e-wallet, with 7 days 24 real-time transfer, and the wish to offer also fair commission and fair foreign exchange rates, with a target of 1%, including the foreign exchange rate margin. I suppose you will have some questions about it because it's very, very low, but that's, by the way, what the Financial Stability Board is targeting at. Speed, instant payment, transparency, transparent commission sharing, so knowing everything, all the fees up front. Access, it's through an in-house API that UPT, that you have developed, which can be incorporated in the CBS or core banking system, and which enables to access the product, be it in a branch or digitally. The pros is this single API, and that you are compliant with AML and KYC procedures, of course. Challenge, lack of sending partners. Let's talk about it. And now we get to the last one. The platform, the mobile money platform, a young one, founded in 2004, young and growing, let's say, covering specifically beginning the SADC countries, so South Africa and the neighboring countries, UK, EU, and now South Asia. You are a cross-border payment platform. You go what we expect from such a platform: cash and digital pay in, pay out. The cost, maybe you are going to talk about it, but I suppose it depends also on the corridor. The speed, instant for certain types of cash, bank transfer, and card payments, and 1 hour on weekdays for normal bank transfer and mobile money. Upfront visibility, that's this transparency seems to be there everywhere for the different partners or stakeholders. Access, you also have tech-enabled KYC consultants, which are present everywhere in the country. You have a lot of pay-in, pay-out points, booths, branches, etc., and you do mobile. Have been already mentioned, and maybe the challenge are like for the bank, the compliance requirements, the cost, and the proportionality. So I have done my duty, and now I would like to give the floor, and maybe to you, Antonio. Today you have this remittance business, which represents a lot of the GDP in your country, also a large part of your revenue as a bank, and you are challenged. So how do you see that your offer fills the demand today compared to the other services that were presented? And while you are preparing the answer, I would like to encourage the audience to write their questions in the chat, and I will be happy to. Voila, exactly. It has already been written. Please share your questions, and Antonio, please. How do you see? Yes.
Thank you very much, Laurie. I first of all would like to thank Laurie and also Chris, the news. Since you are preparing to leave, we'd like to thank you for the continued support you have been giving to WSBI members, especially Caixa Econômica. I must say that we were awarded as the best bank in Cape Verde for 2021 by Global Finance Journal, and we're happy with that. And that is also due because of the continued support we have been receiving by the WSBI. And also thank you for the topic, because it's a common topic. We have been talking about that since a while, and it is very important. And for Cape Verde, as you point out very well, is very important for the banking system and for the economy. And as of 2020, the immigrant remittance is 13% of the country GDP, 25% of the bank deposit, and in case of Caixa, it's 28% of bank deposits. So we are more active than others in the remittances market. And it is very important, and it's still important for us, even if we have now the competition for other suppliers, other providers. Banking system is still most important in the remittance in Cape Verde, because we have a very high level of bankarization. So the banking access to bank account is granted almost to everybody. So in Cape Verde, I think we have more than twice the number of the accounts compared to the population. It means so everybody has almost 2 accounts. So there is no problem with that. That's why the banking system is very important in the remittance. Now, using other services like Western Union, for instance, is very important for non-interest income for banks. Caixa was the first to have Western Union service here. We started in '98, and there was a lot of commission, and we were very happy with that. And we were very transparent on our report. So we showed the commission we have been earning. So other banks moved. So now all banks in Cape Verde is providing Western Union facility services, and others like Korea and MoneyGram and so on. And Caixa also, beside our own network, we use post office because we have post office as shareholder. So we also use the post office network to expand our branch, and therefore we have a very big coverage of the country. Regarding the challenges.
Yeah, allow me to just we see that the competition is really high from Western Union, from the mobile money operator. You said it yourself. What are the tools that you have? And when you hear about what SWIFT is going to do, that there is a UPT platform, but that there is a Mukuru platform who just wants to expand, how do you react? What is your what would you like to do? What could you expect from this community?
Well, competition is always welcome, of course. But since for us, the most important is to be customer oriented, focus on the clients, on the needs. Since we have the most important network in the country, we are closer to the clients. So we keep improving. So we were not staying away from the new solution. We also take the new solution, but we are confident that if we keep focused on providing the best solution to the client in terms of convenience, we keep our share of business. As a matter of fact, we still have the highest market share in the, for example, Western Union transaction, despite the fact that all banks are here. But since we were the first, we still are in advantage. Now, regarding the question you asked regarding transparency, we have a problem with transparency in the banking transfer now, okay? Regarding Western Union, is very transparent, very clear, all costs and commission are known at front, and it's okay. Also, the commission sharing is also clear. But regarding banking, now is very difficult because of this correspondent restriction that we are facing. So we know what we charge at the ordering bank, but sometimes there is one or two banks in between, and all these banks charge. So at the beginning, we don't know how much will be the cost. And it's being a big amount sometimes.
I see that Tom is
most transaction is complicated.
Thank you, Antonio. I see that Tom from SWIFT is indeed nodding, and probably I know we have discussed that with you in the preparation of this meeting. Maybe Tom, you would like to add something about that.
No, indeed, I followed the points from our colleague from Antonio, and what we've actually done recently on the ask of members of banks, of our shareholders, our community. Have a look at what's happening in the low value payments business. How can we facilitate some of the challenges while low value payments and large value payments are coming closer and closer to each other? And one of those points was actually about how can we make sure that upfront that we have the tools to calculate upfront for our customers, how much is this transaction gonna cost, how long is it gonna take, making sure that in those correspondent banking relationships that they have, how can we have this transparency? And SWIFT Go is one of those tools that we want to reach out to the banks with, to say, you can have that upfront cost, you can do upfront validations of your transaction, and you can use that as the pipeline to offer those products, to have. I mean, and then here we're a bit in the remittance versus wire transfer discussion, but how can we have those correspondent channels? How can we use them in the most efficient way possible? And that's why I think if I hear from Antonio about the correspondent restrictions, I think that's really ringing a few bells on what we wanted to address with a product like SWIFT Go.
Okay, thanks. How do you react, Murat, to this this issue of correspondent banking? How does the UPT platform dealing with this?
So thanks, Laurie. So this is the one advantages that we offer because within our platform, so we have created an API, a single API, and all the settlement within all members, all the participants within the platform will be in Active Bank, which is our shareholder. So the member bank will open only a settlement account in Active Bank. So all the settlement with all participants in the platform will be instantly in the same account. So also Active Bank has a lot of correspondent accounts in the world, especially in the Africa region. So for the banks, it will be a book-to-book transfers. So they will not need to use correspondent banks, one bank, two bank, three banks, which creates costs, time costs, and also money costs. So this is one of the advantages that we offer within the Fair Remit platform.
Okay. Would you like to say something about how your offer feels the demand? Because we spoke about convenience, yeah? This is important to be convenient. And then I will go to Mukuru, because I suppose convenience is one of the topic, customer centricity. Is there something that you would like to say about it, Murat?
So for the convenience, it's from the beginning. So we have experience from 2010. So we are working with the clients. But for the platform, this is a new thing which we have created with WSVI. So in our experience that we are working since 2010 is, so we are offering to our customers always the new products, like transfers into bank accounts, transfers into cards, debit cards, credit cards, wallets, etc. And within this period, all the products are very new. Also, the commissions for the customers decreasing. But still, the most of the volumes in remittance business is coming from the banks or post office. And these banks or post office are only working with traditional global money transfer companies. So still their services is expensive than the money transfer operators or fintechs. So this is the challenge for the customer. Sure, they have a wide network. So the traditional money transfer companies which are working with the banks and post offices has a very wide network, but the cost is very expensive for the immigrants, for the customers. So the convenience thing is, the MTOs, fintechs, or platforms are giving a better services. So instant is a very important thing for the customer should be, because so also after the pandemic, receiving fund is another challenging thing. So because the remittances is created from the developed countries to the undeveloped or growing countries. So most of these transfers is going to the immigrants, from immigrants to their families. So receiving money is very important for them. So after the pandemic, which the fintechs, MTOs or platforms are offering, sending directly into their wallets, their mobile phones, their accounts, etc. So this is also another thing which creates convenience.
Okay. Yes, indeed. Maybe Kat, because I saw you using yes, and indeed. Customer centricity, conveniency, that's what a fintech and a platform like you is looking for and trying to make to make her brand support fast, to sell as a...
Absolutely. Apologies. And trying to find that balance as well between making sure that customers have the right payment method that works for them in their jurisdiction, as well as has those elements. So Mukuru has a strong dominance in Southern Africa, which currently sits in a slightly different situation to where Antonio is, where cash and daily transactions in cash are still quite dominant. So for us, again, we love players that give us efficient middle mile ability to transfer. All of those things are very important elements for making sure that we can reduce the cost. Mukuru offers an instant cash service as well as instant bank transfer and card payments in certain jurisdictions. In other jurisdictions, our bank transfers are generally under an hour. So we've managed to achieve that speed, and a lot of that leverages the fantastic middle mile components. But a key consideration for us with also the type of instrument that a customer is using and how to almost move them onto a digital journey that helps us with the cost of this is, for our customers, many of them in their day-to-day lives, they're still using cash. So that's how they buy their groceries, that's how they pay for their transport fare. The full society has not yet moved towards an ability for digital payments to be accepted everywhere. And even in the places where digital payments are accepted, at times network connectivity is an issue. So in urban areas, it's great, but in the rural areas, there's not always the certainty, hey, are the networks going to be up, which are a key infrastructure component to enable payments. So we have an interesting scenario when we look at low value remittances, and the fact that we've found customers demand the need for cash to cash remittances, as well as we're walking the journey with our customers, and we provide a Mukuru card as well as a wallet offering to help customers move into kind of a low value account space. So they're able to, and often migrants also battle to access traditional banks for bank accounts. So providers such as ourselves fill that gap. We focus on the migrant market, so we're able to give them access. But we find that even when bank accounts and mobile money accounts are available, we still have customers who might be banked but are demanding cash, because they'll receive those remittance funds into their bank account, but they'll draw it out in cash so that they can transact in their daily lives. And I think this is an important almost infrastructure component for us, in the fact that something that drives cost quite strongly in our model is the need to have cash included. And it's almost as Mukuru is walking the journey with customers, we're trying to contribute towards helping customers move towards what we would call digital payments, or again, being able to be account-based. But this is almost a broader kind of, I guess a broader move in society where partners such as the banks, it's so important themselves, mobile money providers, the wallet providers such as Mukuru, to really almost as a full payments ecosystem, enable core components that are needed to reduce the cost of remittances, which is a key challenge for Mukuru. There's high infrastructure costs in terms of the services that our customers need. And there's a full kind of infrastructure shift that's needed to support that.
So how do you do? Is it technology really supporting there? How do you address? Because we are in a session on infrastructure.
Absolutely. So for us, we've tried to introduce efficiencies and leverage digital technologies in the more cost heavy space of cash. So we connect with customers through a range of digital channels, simple USSD for customers with feature phones that don't even have a smart screen, through to WhatsApp transacting, through to we have an app, a Mobi site. We've basically enabled digital channels that reach every single form of a connected customer to help introduce efficiencies and reduce costs from the first mile as a customer is generating up a payment order. Then Mukuru has also run a range of automations. We partner with infrastructure providers such as Swift and providers similar to UPT to assist us with ensuring there's full efficiency and as the funds are transmitted. And then we also have made sure that there are multiple different payment options so that if it is possible to connect a customer to a digital account, which again is far cheaper, we do so. So in that way, we've leveraged infrastructure, we've leveraged technology in order to try and reduce the cost of those cash-based transactions, while also providing incentives for customers to try and move towards digital transactions in order to support that cost reduction and increase access.
Thank you, Kat. Maybe a reaction from our panelists, because it's true that when we listen to you, it seems that you cover from the beginning to the end, and really, that at the end, the customer, what he can do is very important. At the same time, maybe that's the flexibility you have, is to be at the root and at the in front of the end user. Antonio, Murat, Tom, any reaction to that?
Yeah, I would like to point out that regarding the cost, now it is really very flexible. Just an example. We have a lot of community in Luxembourg, and they send remittance to Cape Verde via Western Union sometimes. So for the same amount, 200 euro, for instance, if you go to Western Union agent, it can cost you 14 euros to send 200 euros. If you do it through internet platform, it can cost you 6 euros. So there is a range of possibility in term of cost. Now, regarding the speed, of course, Western Union is instant. bank transfer used to be 2 working days. We call it spot. It was, but now the value date is reduced to 1 day, but sometimes. But even also for Western Union now, because of compliance, a transaction can be put on a hold for unlimited time. So because there is a validation of compliance, so for bank transfer, it may take weeks or even more for the funds to get in to the beneficiary. That's why the question of compliance is even an issue for all the payment system. And even transaction platform like Western Union, MoneyGram, they also have the requirements in terms of compliance, and also they can also put a transaction on a hold for. So we cannot, let's say, for important amount of money, of course, we're talking about 100 euros or 550 euros or something like that. So it's okay. But when you move for bigger amounts, so compliance is a concern. And for Cape Verde, so we have to consider two kinds of remittance. The remittance you send to family for daily consumption, so it's one thing. And the remittance you send to put in your account for later to make an investment, which is the most important component. So these are subject to more restriction and also more costs because of it has to be through banking system. Because for Western Union and other platform, there is a limit in terms of the maximum amount you can send per transaction. So we have to, that's why we have to have both, all solutions. We have to cover all fields. Bank transaction, money transfer services, mobile money. So we have to, okay.
You have to have all the different channels and possibilities.
We have to follow the market. Right?
Yeah, to follow the market. Speaking about to follow the market, and I would like to know, how do you see the market evolving actually? You have all different views. Maybe Tom, you are entering in a new market, so maybe you have a view of how the market is going to evolve.
I think that there's a lot of things, and I think the colleagues refer to it very clearly as well. Every single component needs to become more instant, needs to become faster, and we need to look at every single issue, every single friction that could occur, whether that's compliance, whether that's different relationships. And I think this is getting attention. Laurie, you referred as well to the Saudi G20 induced discussion. So we see that a lot of members of our community are really looking at, okay, what's happening in this space? How can we make the cross-border payments more efficient, with the purpose of having more speed, more transparency, making it cheaper to do those transfers, and not losing shocking amounts of 14 euros out of 200 euros. I mean, that sounds very hurtful if you hear it from a transfer point of view. And you see this coming forward. There's like the whole BIS story where we're looking at where the central banks are looking at interlinking different local systems, reviewing how that pipework can become more efficient on that front. At the same time, we've started recently our Swift Go initiative, and we have already many banks that have committed around the world around this to this product. So I think that also from a banking community, you're all looking at having filling a problem in that space. So I'm very hopeful that in the next few years, there's really going to be an increase in speed. We also already see, also on the large value payments area, we also see that there the speed is going up. We have, with our GPI trackers, we see that most of the payments, a large amount of the payments, are happening in 5 minutes, and a big percentage, the majority, within 24 hours. So if we add that layer of transparency, we already see an improve over the last few years. And I think definitely all those initiatives are going to converge into a more efficient way of doing business.
Yes, thank you, Tom, indeed. And what about the initiative of the UPT? How do you see it evolving, and what would you need to give? I mean, you seem to arrive with a solution which faces the issue of correspondent banking, de-risking, cost, transparency. How do you see the things evolving for you?
So the thing is, I want to comment for this instant thing. So sure, the traditional first, the instant thing. So
yeah, please.
Yes, the transfer is instant. But for example, now if I want to make a transfer to you, Lori, to the Paris. So if I want to use the traditional money transfer companies first, I need to check my pocket. If I need the cash, then I need to check. I need to go to the ATM, withdraw the cash. Then I need to find an agent or bank which offers this service, cash-to-cash service. So I will wait in the queue. I will fill the form. I will give my ID. So it takes time. Also, then you in Paris, you need to go and find a money transfer company which offers these services to you. Yes, when I go to the cashier, it is instant. But at the end of the day, sending money and receiving money is not instant. It is at least 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe 1 day. So I am in Istanbul, you are in Paris, but in the undeveloped cities, it is not like that. But once you offer these services within the digital, it is really instant, because I have enough balance in my phone. So you have an IBAN or you have a wallet there in Paris. So it will be a real instant transfers, which is cheap also. So Antonio said that at least it is €6. But in the digital channels, it is maximum €1 or €2 to initiate a money transfer. And and the customers are very sensitive to the pricing, because even $1 or €1 is very important for them. So we are adding value to their lives. This is a very important thing. So the services that we are providing is adding value to their lives, to their educational lives, to their health life, etc. So this is also another very important point, that as fintech companies or money transfer operators or banks, that we are giving to our customers. So this should be very important for us considering the business.
Thank you, Murat. I think you all said, and maybe Kat, in 2 words that you would like to add, maybe before I conclude.
To be honest, I think there's been a strong expression of the right evolution points by my other panelists and mentioned from my side. And I think some of it might be about maybe more about setting realistic expectations. And there's almost, I'd do a call to action that there's a need for many industry participants to, as much as one in a competitive space can do so, to work together on objectives such as financial inclusion, such as digitizing payments. There are elements here where there needs to be coordination in order to be able to take these steps forward. And I think these are vital elements to really make low-value payments in sub-Saharan Africa cost-efficient, transparent, have decent access, decent speed. So that would be my almost call to action from this, but well held with the points that have been put forward.
Thank you, Kat. I think you are already doing part of the conclusion with this. Indeed, there is a need for coordination of the different initiatives, and because we are all wishing and pushing and focusing on the same thing, is to increase the remittance business for the improvement of the financial inclusion movement, especially in the emerging countries. And of course, as Tom was saying, it's encouraging to see that it's really taken as a priority at very high level, and that automatically it will, through the different stakeholders, be taken over and be developed. But as you also said, all of you, we need indeed to to understand the market, to understand the needs of the customer, to follow the market in terms of customer, but also technology. And there is a need, therefore, to, if we want to reduce the cost and increase speed and access, to develop the offer and to make an offer which is digital and which is also very diversified, because not everybody is ready yet to become digital. Even if we know and if we see that there will be it will help a lot in terms of cost and speed, there is still an evolution. And based on what you have explained and expressed, you are along this evolution and supporting this evolution. So thank you very much for having accepted to share this moment with us and with the audience. We had one question from the chat, and thank you, Kat, for answering it in terms of incentives, indeed, to incentivize the customer to use the digital tools. And therefore, I would like again to thank you. I hope this will be also the occasion for the panelists maybe to continue discussing and exchanging and see how to optimize and how to orchestrate the different needs that we have based on the offer we have and you are developing. So thank you very much to all of you, and wishing all the best in the future. And we'll be also happy to keep in touch.